I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.
Why? Why? Why you assume that? Huh? Why? I just be trying to understand. You know what I mean? Meanwhile,
Personally, I the reason I put him on is because I agree with a lot with what he's saying. What this seems like it's coming down to is that this is day two. On day one, they had an issue with juror number 25. Juror 25 is already a self described member of the LGBTQ gay community, and he has a PhD. Now, the way I'm looking at these people who are in the courtroom and on the jury, because they're all New Yorkers, is the way I'm looking at the audience. I've done 100 different panels on TikTok. I've been in Facebook groups. I've been in Instagram groups where we've been talking about this subject. I'm noticing a pattern. Anybody who's been LGBTQ has been against men, but they've also had a history of looking at the things that he's not being charged with. So if the jury's sending notes to the judge saying that one juror is ignoring his instructions, if you read the instructions carefully, Diddy walks. If you don't read the instructions and follow the instructions, then what you're going to do is what everybody else is doing, which is you're going to bring up domestic violence from 10 years ago on the video, outside the statute of limitations, which he's not being charged with. You're also going to bring up Kid Cudi, arson, kidnapping, which has all been thrown out because there's no proof that Diddy did any of it. There's none. There's no evidence that he was at Kid Cudi's house. And when they analyzed the Molotov cocktail that was found in his car, which set his car ablaze, the fingerprints and the DNA on the cocktail came back to a woman. You really think a billionaire celebrity was at this man's house where he broke and entered, and then he kidnapped his own employee, yet the employee went home every single night that week and came back every morning? If you're coming back the next day to work, how are you being kidnapped and you go home and you get off at the same time every day? Doesn't make sense. But every chat group I'm in, there's nothing but gay people and a lot of black women who keep bringing up the fact that there was a DV video, even though admittedly him and Cassie used to hit each other. There's a DV video, and these women are telling me, yeah, he was stomping on her chest and beating in her head. No, he wasn't. The man was wearing socks and a robe. Allegedly, she had stole his phone. He chased her down. She gets to the elevator in the hallway. She doesn't even push the button. She's just standing there waiting because she knew he was going to chase her down. She wanted his attention. He pulled her by the hoodie. He's wearing a sock. He kicked her in the butt once. No stomping, no beat down, no anything. Not to say that excuses it, but let's just be accurate and honest about what happened. If this jury is anything like the public, this member of the LGBTQ community with his PhD, he's ignoring the judge's instructions, which is to only focus on the charges that are laid out by the prosecution. He can't do it. For one thing, if he's LGBTQP, he's feminine adjacent. He thinks he's a woman. That means that he's going to be emotional no matter what. Your emotions will overtake and block out your ability to critically think and process data. If the entire rest of the jury is saying, look, this does not fit what we know trafficking and prostitution to be. There's no way it's not there. You can't have it both ways. You can't call Diddy both the pimp and the John. He's one or the other. He can't be both. He can't be trafficking and trafficking the women and he's a person purchasing them. There was no one purchasing. This was all for fun. This was all in the privacy of their bedroom. What goes on in there is none of our business. And if we start allowing the government to police what happens in our bedroom, then more of us are going to be taken off the streets. And now it's not going to be safe to be in this country. You can't even date no more. It's bad enough all these kids are starting, these young men want to be LGBTQ now because it's just too dangerous, because women can accuse you of something and the government will now prosecute you 20 years later, 15 years later, where there's no physical evidence. In this trial, the prosecution has not presented any evidence of any of these crimes. There's no evidence that showed where Diddy trafficked anyone or he was transporting for prostitution. For them to say that if you take your girlfriend on a vacation or you take her out of town or she goes with you somewhere, you're trafficking her and she's a victim. And the government to tell us that there's no such thing as a girlfriend anymore, I think is government overreach, and we cannot allow that. In this case, just because they want to take Diddy's assets and convict him so bad, the government has now declared that there's no such thing as a girlfriend. You're no longer a girlfriend. You're a sex worker. You're no longer a girlfriend. You're a prostitute. That's not right. These women never call themselves prostitute. I'm sure Cassie doesn't think she's a prostitute. Daphne doesn't think she's a prostitute. Gina doesn't think she's a prostitute. But for the government to say, well, Diddy's saying these are my girlfriends, this is my side piece, this is my woman, my partner. But the government is saying, well, both of you guys are wrong. Diddy's wrong and the women are wrong. They're all sex workers. And Diddy's paying them for sex by paying their bills, by taking them out to eat, by traveling them to different countries all over the world for vacation. He's really just doing it because he wants to have sex with them. Newsflash. Everything we do as men from the age of 15 is so that we can impress women, so that they will want to have sex with us. That's the whole purpose of working and having resources and building yourself up, and so that you can have a bigger pool of women to choose from. And you don't got to just take what you can get, but you can earn the favor of the best women. Everything we're doing in life, for the most part, as men, is so that we can earn the favor of women. When I tell you this gay agenda, this LGBT agenda, everyone doesn't see how it's starting to play into our society and our politics. But look at this case. They want to criminalize what it means to be a man and your conduct with women. They want to criminalize typical male conduct with women. As men, if we can't meet a beautiful woman and say, hey, you want to go to Miami? Hey, you want to go to Hawaii? Hey, what are you doing tomorrow? Take off work. How much do you make at work? Okay, well, whatever you're going to make for that day, what you make, $30 an hour. Let's see here. You're working 8 hours. Okay, this is what I'll do. I'll give you the money so that you can take off work tomorrow. Let's me and you go to Vegas. Let's me and you go to the beach in LA. If we can't do that anymore, because if you run afoul with the government and they don't like you anymore and they want your resources and you just happen to be so dark skinned that the women in your community will champion you being taken down for no reason, well, now potentially you're going to have a case. Now this opens up the floodgates. If this goes through and Diddy gets convicted, every ex-girlfriend anyone has ever had that he cut off and he moved on can make up a false allegation against that man, and the government will humor it, arrest him, and now you have to prove your innocence, because the government doesn't have to prove their guilt. It's nothing but words from people who have immunity, who have a financial incentive to make up stories about Diddy for money. There's been no physical evidence that he did anything wrong. Him giving money to a woman and paying her rent is not physical evidence. A 10-year-old domestic violence video, is not evidence. It's not. The words of people who have a history of lying. You have two people. You have Cassie and you have her friend made up a story about Diddy trying to jangle her over a balcony. The government knew it was a fake story because they had the metadata and they had Diddy's itinerary. They knew he was on the other side of the country, allegedly, when this happened. And they still went through with it. This isn't justice. This is a perversion of justice. And this is going to be a problem going forward if he's convicted. In my opinion, this gay person is the person bringing up outdated, old data that have been disproven throughout the trial. And the jury's looking at him like, there's been 5 weeks of testimony. Why are you still bringing up domestic violence? And why are you still bringing up Kid Cudi? The judge instructed us not to bring that up. So that's why they want the transcripts to show him, because they just sent the note this morning, they want some transcripts. They want to show him that he's wrong. But he doesn't want to concede. Everyone's thinking, oh man, this is probably good for the prosecution. I'll be honest with you, I don't see that. I see these New Yorkers as being grounded people based in reality. It's a mixed up group, primarily of men. Every man on that jury who's straight will know that if the government can criminalize you paying for women's bills, you taking her on trips and buying her things, then you're in trouble. The only person on that jury who would not care if the government is coming after men for spending money or giving money and resources to women would be someone who is gay, someone who is LGBTQP, which is that one juror, 25, who they're saying cannot follow instructions. He's the only one that won't care if men are arrested for flying women out on trips and taking them places. He does not give a damn, because guess what? He doesn't deal with women. He doesn't. So that's my exact stance on this. And I'll be honest with you, my logic is sound, and I believe that's the case. The one person on that jury that would not care if the government starts arresting men who are dating women and flying women around, and because they, of course, the only reason you do anything the reason you get married to a woman is because you want to have sex with her and you don't want nobody else having sex with her. So you get married. That's the whole purpose of this man-woman dynamic in the country. And this is how it's been in all of human civilization. Only recently in history has people wanted to reinvent the wheel, and now it's, instead of Adam and Eve, it's Adam and Steve. If you're the Adam and Steve type, you actually think it's a good thing that straight people are going to be prosecuted going forward. This is a straight man, Diddy, doing what straight men do with women. The only person who would be against that would be the gay LGBT man on the jury. If you listen to my logic and you pay attention, now this won't be so confusing and it would make sense. That's the holdout. And they need, because they want him to walk. If you follow the jury's instruction, if you follow the judge's instructions and you only focus on the charges, Diddy's walks. If you want to focus on the rumors and the allegations, well, then Diddy's convicted. Even with no evidence. They did it to Tory Lanez, they'd happily do it to Diddy. But when the judge is saying you can only focus on what he's being charged with, he walks. If you want to add up new charges about domestic violence and about him blowing up Kid Cudi's car and kidnapping Capricorn when there's no proof, remember, nobody went to the police, nobody reported a crime. Nobody went to a hospital. Nobody said something was done to me. Never. So if there's been no crime reported, you can't 15 years in the future charge him with a crime, not even charge him with a crime, literally take him to court to convict him for a crime when there was no investigation, no charges. He wasn't arrested for any of this stuff. You can't do that. Again, I'm from a communist country originally. That's what happens in our countries. If the government says it's true, it's true. You don't have a defense. You don't have a lawyer. There is none of this. But luckily, we're in the United States of America, and I just hope that this country is better than that. I hope it's not going the way that people think it's going, because in that case, this will be a good time to evacuate if you're a male. A lot of men have passports already. It's already getting dangerous. And we all don't have, hundreds of millions of dollars to pay for a legal defense team that's out of this world. Other people are just going to take a plea deal, even though they're innocent. Diddy decided to fight. I hope he wins this fight because, again, there's no evidence against him. That's what Gerald Jackson is saying. That's what other people that are in the audience are saying. But these New Yorkers are literally the people in this audience. People in the audience are saying that this doesn't make sense. You're trying to prosecute a man for dealing with women, for paying for a woman's bills. You're criminalizing his generosity. That's a terrible stance to have. And it's scary for any man out there because we deal with women. But if you're a gay man, you'll be more than happy to see straight men go to jail for dealing with women because you think that's gross. Same way I think that two men kissing each other is gross. My logic is sound. I'm actually going to be going live on TikTok, and it'll be under the same name, the single boyfriend with 2 underscores at the end. If you want to counter me, if you have a difference of opinion, get on TikTok in the next 5 minutes, join my panel and talk to me. We're going to bring up this topic shortly. I just wanted to point out that there is the only person on that jury, allegedly that is gay, is the one person who would not care about straight men going to prison for spending money on women. And now there's a holdout and they're saying, hey, judge, this man is not following your instructions to only focus on the charges. Just like these other gay people and these other women in these groups, they're bringing up everything but the charges. They don't even want to bring up the charges. They want to make up extra stuff. Somebody brought up Usher and Justin Bieber last night in one of the groups, and he was a gay guy. And it sounded like he was about to cry. And he was like, he had them hanging by their toes in a cave underneath the Playboy Mansion. None of that's true. They were not being hung by their toes in the play. But and the fact is, why the hell would you be connecting that to Diddy? What's that got to do with him? But these people are emotional. They can't think straight. They have a bias towards straight people anyway. You got to understand, this is a whole agenda slowly but surely being pushed against our society so that they can have access to your kids in the long run. Like and subscribe, share the video. I'll be back. I'll be on TikTok shortly, the single boyfriend __. If you want to join the conversation, feel free to. I'll talk to you guys shortly. Wait a minute, we have a comment. There we go. And I'll also go over the comments as well in the TikTok.
I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.